Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new. Thank you for taking time out of your day to check the video out. Today we are talking about PlayStation reveals at the Game Awards. The Game Awards are happening in just a couple of days, and naturally people are expecting some big game reveals, generally speaking, but of course PlayStation shows up at the Game Awards every year. For example, just last year, they announced Naughty Dog's new IP, Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet. Regardless of how you feel about that game, I think we can all agree that's a significant reveal to show up at the Game Awards with. So people have been asking me for a little while now, what do I think Sony's going to show up with this year? So what I figured I would do is a short rundown of least likely to most likely in terms of their studios and projects that they're working on. So we're going to do that starting now with least likely. The first game that I think will not show up is Bend Studios' new game. I think most of you know why. They were working on a live service game for the past 3 years. Unfortunately, it got canceled. Now they're working on another new game, but it's very early, probably still in the pre-production phases. So I think it's safe to say we won't see Bend Studio. The next studio is Bluepoint Games. Same situation. They were working on a live service God of War game for a couple of years. It ended up getting canceled. We know they're working on another new game now, but they just started working on it, so it's probably still in pre-production. I think it's safe to say they're not going to show up. The next studio is Polyphony Digital. I think it's too early for Gran Turismo 8. They just announced the big Spec 3 update for Gran Turismo 7, and maybe Sony would want to advertise this at the Game Awards and let people know. But in terms of a new game announcement or something significant being revealed by Polyphony Digital, I don't think that's going to happen. The next studio is Team Asobi. We know that Astro Bot won Game of the Year last year. They also announced bunch of different free DLCs throughout 2024 and 2025, but I think it's safe to say that they're now working on what will probably be Astro Bot 2, and that's also in early development. I think it's simply too soon for Team Asobi to show up at the Game Awards with a new reveal. Next up, San Diego Studio. I feel as though it's fairly obvious why this studio is not going to show up. They do the MLB, the show games annually. They're just simply not going to be here. Kojima Productions. While not a first-party studio, I do think Kojima will be at the Game Awards, but I think it's more likely he'll be there in terms of showing something new off for OD, not necessarily Death Stranding. I believe he did confirm there's not going to be DLC for Death Stranding. So while Death Stranding 2 will have a presence in the form of it being nominated, and OD could potentially show up, in terms of getting something for, say, Fizzant, I don't think that's going to happen. Again, I think it's too early. And then finally, Arrowhead. I don't think you're going to see anything significant regarding Helldivers 2. You could maybe get a short trailer, just kind of hyping the game up a little bit because it's a live service and they want to keep advertising it and bringing more people back, but they did just announce their latest update. I don't think you're going to see them here at the Game Awards. Now we're going to move on to the studios that I believe it's a 50-50 chance they could show up with a project. The first studio is Dark Outlaw Games. This is a newly formed first-party PlayStation studio. Jason Blundell is the head of this studio. They're working on a co-op multiplayer game, and that's all we know. It's been in development, I think, for a couple of years now. So I'm throwing this out here because this is a studio that I think could randomly show up, and it's here's a new game. It's a PlayStation studio, and it's Dark Outlaw Games. Next up, Firesprite. Firesprite is a similar situation. Sony acquired the studio back in 2021, and they've been working on a single-player, narrative-driven game for quite a few years now that seems to be Until Dawn 2. Whether or not this game is ready to be shown off remains to be seen, but I do think this is a studio that could potentially make a surprise appearance at the Game Awards. Next up, Insomniac Games. The reason why I'm putting them as a 50-50 chance is, well, two reasons. Number one, Wolverine. Of course, they had their big re-reveal or full reveal of Wolverine at the last main state of play that Sony did, I believe, in September. Could they show another trailer to hype up Wolverine at the Game Awards this year? Yes, but they did go on record saying that they're going to show you more of Wolverine come spring of next year. So unless they're kind of trying to mislead us here a little bit. I think it's safe to say that Wolverine is not going to show up. However, we do know, based on many different rumors, that they are working on a standalone Venom game. I also think it's unlikely that they will reveal this Venom game in the middle of them also marketing Wolverine, but there is some chance, right? This is why I'm throwing it in the 50-50 category, because Insomniac is just one of these studios where they're working on so many different things at one time that you never really know when they're going to show up with another reveal. But the final studio, or the final two studios here, I should say, in the 50-50 chance category, Media Molecule and Team LFG. I think many of you know Media Molecule. They are working on a new IP. They have been for a couple of years. It could be time for them to reveal this new game. We have no idea what it's going to be, but I think it's safe to say it's going to be a more traditional game and not something like Dreams. And then Team LFG is another newly formed studio underneath the PlayStation Studios banner. It's mostly Bungie developers. This is what was known as Project Gummy Bears over at Bungie, a game that they were working on that is a live service. I don't think it has anything to do with Destiny or is going to look anything like Destiny. It seems like it's going to be something completely different, more of like a family game or like a party game. And yeah, this is another kind of surprise out of left field announcement that could drop at any time. Now we're going to move on to the most likely studios that could show up at the Game Awards this year on behalf of PlayStation. The first one here is Guerrilla Games. Now, I don't think that they're ready to reveal Horizon 3. However, we did just see the Horizon multiplayer MMO announced, but Guerrilla did say that they have their own multiplayer Horizon game that they're working on that they can't wait to show us, and this game has been in development for many, many years now. I imagine it's ready to be revealed. I think this is one of the most likely announcements we could see at the Game Awards. Next up, Haven Studios. They revealed their game Fair Games at the PlayStation 2023 showcase. Ever since then, they just have been MIA, and Sony apparently has been trying to figure this game out and get it to a place where people are not going to despise it when it finally is re-revealed. Could they show up at the Game Awards? Yeah, I think so. The timing would be right. How it's going to look if it does show up and how people are going to react, who knows, but I do think that's a studio that is more likely to show. Next up, Housemarque. I think we all know why. Soros is coming March next year. It's one of Sony's big titles that they're launching in 2026. In fact, if there's just one singular studio that I would say guaranteed will have a trailer for their game at this event, it would have to be Housemarque for Soros. So that one I feel pretty close to locking in. Next up, Naughty Dog. As I said, Intergalactic was revealed last year at the Game Awards, so I think because of that, it lessens the chance of Naughty Dog showing up, but at the same time, there's two things. Number one, we have yet to see anything more of Intergalactic, and it feels like the timing is right. Neil Druckmann's been talking about this game, saying how excited he is to show the gameplay to people, so I think there's a chance they could show up for a second year in a row. They also have a second game in development, another single-player game that's been in development for a few years now, so who knows, maybe they could have back-to-back single-player game reveals at the Game Awards. Next up, Santa Monica Studio. Obviously, it's God of War's 20th anniversary this year. People have been expecting different types of announcements for God of War. Instead, we kind of got an update for Ragnarok as well as a new DualSense, but no game announcements. Feels like we're a little bit overdue for some type of game announcement. We also know that Cory Barlog has been working on his next game, which according to Jason Schreier is not a new IP, but will feel like a new IP. He's been working on this for many years now. I feel like, yeah, this would be a place to kind of show up with that new IP reveal. So we'll see if that happens or not. Next up, Sucker Punch. I know it seems strange to be putting Sucker Punch here as most likely, but some people may have forgotten that they have a multiplayer mode that's going to be releasing for Ghost of Yotei Legends. I would say this is probably my second most anticipated reveal for Sony at the Game Awards. Another trailer for Ghost of Yotei in the form of, here's the first trailer for Legends. And then finally, I put here Bad Robot Games. This is the studio that just announced a new collaboration and partnership with Sony with the creator of Left 4 Dead. They're working on a 4-player co-op game. I do wonder if the reason why they just announced this in early December is because they're about to officially reveal this game at the Game Awards. We know the Game Awards is a place where a lot of AAA developers and AA developers want to reveal their new games and their new IP? Well, because the Game Awards, as I said, gets a ton of viewership, and it's just a good place to reveal a new game. But that is it. That is my list of least likely, 50-50, and most likely in terms of the studios and projects that could show up at the Game Awards. So yeah, as we get closer, obviously people are going to be looking out for leaks and rumors. They're already kind of beginning. But yeah, I'm going to be curious to see what you guys have to say. What do you think Sony is going to show at the Game Awards this year? What do you hope they show at the Game Awards? I'll be curious to see what you have to say. If you enjoyed the video or found it informative, be sure to leave it a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.